Well, a 5-minute phone call to your credit card issuer could save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in interest rate charges. It may not feel like it's possible to negotiate, but the worst thing they can do is say no. And if you're a good customer, a card company is going to want to hang on to you, meaning if you're a customer that's paying them a lot of interest every month. We're going to talk to Scott Bilker. He's the author of Talk Your Way Out of Credit Card Debt. He's the founder of DebtSmart.com. Scott, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on, Alan.
Scott, it's intimidating to people, the idea that they need to negotiate with their credit card companies, because the relationship many people are used to having with their credit card companies is one of criticism, one of late payments, one of mild intimidation. In fact, it's not a bad thing. If you're the kind of client who's been running a balance and generally paying on time, they're making their money off of you.
That's absolutely right. You know, some people feel at the mercy of their banks, and that just doesn't have to be the case. And they are making money off people, and if you've been a good customer, which pretty much boils down to paying on time, you're in a great position to call the bank and say, listen, I've got a lot of other credit options here, and if you don't reduce your rates, I'm just going to use one of my other credit cards. The average consumer has about 10 of them, so there are definitely places you can go to save money. Who
do you speak to when you call up? You call the person who calls you, or do you want to speak to someone else? I know in certain instances, I'm trying to think whether it was a credit card or it was a cell phone company. When I finally called and said, look, I'm making my mind up to leave, they immediately connected me to the retention department.
Right.
And then
yes.
I got a great deal.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Sometimes the very first person that you talk to on the phone won't be able to help you, and you have to ask to speak to the supervisor. And even sometimes those people will tell you, the very first rep will say, listen, my supervisor's not going to be able to lower your rate.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to waive the fee. But you still have to be persistent and talk to the supervisor, tell them your story, and let them know that you will do something. You'll leave them, or you'll transfer your balance. I don't like to close my accounts unless they really make me mad.
Right.
I'd rather punish them and transfer my balance so they're not making any money.
What do you tell them? What do you say when you're on that phone and you know that this is a negotiation? Because sometimes it's not going to be a yes, we'll do it. And sometimes it's no, but you want to try because you're paying a lot of money out every month, and a few minutes of effort might work out here. What language do you use? What do you say?
Well, first you want to be nice to the person you speak to. There's a few things you can do. You can ask the person if you're not getting anywhere. You can say, who can I speak to that might be able to lower my rate? And sometimes I found that some reps will help you. Otherwise, you want to just tell them, look, I'm going to transfer my balance and close my accounts. And still also, if you're going, you could tell them, look, if you lower my rate, I'll start using your card again today. Yeah. I haven't been using it for a while. I'm going to make a major purchase soon. I'm going on vacation. I'll use the card, but you got to give me a good deal, or else I'm going to use my other cards.
Is this as good an argument for people who carry a balance, or maybe have had late payment? It's great for people who carry a balance. People have had trouble paying their cards, because at that point, you don't have as much leverage.
That's true, but you still have some leverage. I've helped people make phone calls where they've been late for 4 months in a row, and you'd call them up and say, listen, I know I've been late, I know I've had some trouble, but I'm going to get my act together, I'm going to start paying on time. I'd really appreciate it if you can waive that last over-limit fee or late fee, and I'm going to send a check out today for $100 or whatever it is to bring everything current or to get going again. And they do that.
If your best option is carrying balances on credit cards, it's maybe not a good idea to be opening up lots of other cards. How do you know what your options really are? In other words, you're bluffing a little bit unless you actually have another option.
Right. You don't want to bluff. You don't want to be like the kind of person who says to the boss, you know, if you don't give me a raise, I'll quit, and then he says no.
Quit.
Right. What you want to do is really have these options, and all the options are in your mailbox. Those low rate offers you get, read them to the rep on the phone. Say, listen, look, I'm holding a 0% 6-month credit card deal in my hand.
Yeah.
Why should I stay with you guys when I could just transfer my balance right now? I'm doing a major purchase. I'm going to use this deal unless you do something for me.
One of the things that you point out, which is interesting, and my first guest sort of had some advice about getting a real tally of what it is that you actually owe. Likewise, it's useful to get a sense of how much you pay these people in interest every month, so that you really have something to say to them.
Right.
You're going to lose my $200 a month in interest if I go away from you.
Right, and especially if they charge you some kind of over-limit fee.
Right.
Say, listen, over the last year I've paid $250 worth of interest, I've made $5,000 worth of purchases, I'm carrying a balance, I'm going to transfer my balance, and all that money that you've been making is going to be gone. Credit card companies are fighting for good customers right now. That's why there's so many offers in the mail. 5 billion offers mailed just last year. So they really need good clients.
When people are carrying balances, they get very attracted to these introductory rates. Some of these introductory rates have very high subsequent rates.
Right.
What do you do in terms of dealing that way? If you transfer, you've got a high interest credit card, you move it off to a low interest introductory rate. Do you have to do the math to see whether you're saving over the long term?
Yeah, because sometimes with those low introductory rates, you have to look out for the cash advance fee.
Right.
Sometimes they're open-ended. You might get a 0% deal, and it's a open-ended 4% transfer fee. If it's a 6-month deal and you pay a one-time 4% fee, that's 8%. So it's really an 8% transfer, and you have to keep in mind that if you have a 3.99% rate right now, that the 0% is really more costly. So it's always important to do the math.
All right. Scott, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Scott Bilker is the author of Talk Your Way Out of Credit Card Debt. Coming up after the break, have you been a victim of phishing? That's